Hello dear learners, welcome to the DENNY English Language Online Classroom for Form 4. In our lesson for today, we shall focus on directed writing, which you all know is paper 2 of your ordinary level GC examination. Our focus here today shall be on directed writing, a review of directed writing. Why do I say review? Because these are things we have done. But this time around, we shall be looking at it again. The objective expected from you at the end of this lesson is that at the end of the lesson, you should be able to apply the rules of directed writing as you'll be remembered here today. You should know the different levels of expectations in directed writing and equally outline or sketch at least 4 directed writing formats and always differentiate the relevant points from the irrelevant point. You are expected equally at the end of this lesson to be able to use the instructions to bring out the 5 points to consider when writing a directed writing passage. Dear learner, let us begin by asking ourselves the questions again. What is directed writing? My Form 4 students, you remember I've made you to understand that when we talk about directed writing, we talk about a piece of writing that is based on a guide or instruction on how to put it on. From its name, directed writing. Therefore, you are directed on how to write in a particular way. And remember that this aims at testing you listening to this right now. It aims at testing how you appropriately write based on what is expected of you. Dear learners, this is where we get to ask ourselves the question, what or how do we present a directed writing passage? You must note here that when it comes to a directed writing passage, there are 5 powerful questions that a student has to ask themselves. The first of this question is, what role am I playing? What role am I playing? You remember that in every directed writing passage, there is a role that you have to assume. So when you ask yourself, what role am I assuming in that instruction that has been given to you, it already removes the you. You may be playing the role of a doctor, you may be playing the role of a member of an NGO, you may be playing the role of a teacher, you may be playing the role of a minister or even a principal. That answers the question, what role am I playing? Question 2, who are my audience? Your audience are the people who want to listen to what you have written. So your audience will determine the way you write. If your audience, for example, is your principal or a minister or somebody, that automatically demands you to write with a very formal approach, respect, and a tone that shows respect and authority addressed to the person. If you are writing to children, you should also know that your tone is supposed to make you be the type. Your audience, therefore, influences the way you write. The next question is, what am I required to do? That is your task. What are you required? In this task, you are required to maybe write a letter, to maybe write a speech, to maybe write an article, to maybe write a report. That is your task. What are you required to do? After what you are required to do, you should be able to ask yourself the next question. What is my limitation? You have 2 types of limitation. You have word limitation and paragraph limitation. At the level of word limitation, my dear students, remember, you are supposed to write in not more than 150 words. In not more than 150 words. That's what we refer to as your word limitation. Remember that the 150 words are counted from the beginning of when you start writing. There is nothing like introduction that will be separated from the 150 words. So any student who writes in more than 150 words is already going against the word limitation. The second aspect is the paragraph limitation. You discover that most of the times your instruction will ask you to write in maybe 2 paragraphs or at least 2 paragraphs or in just 1 paragraph. Take note of these instructions. The instructions at the level of paragraph limitation vary with respect to the questions. So don't be the victim to go and write. And take note that what a sentence written and you keep a space is considered a paragraph. Let me use this little space we have here, assuming that this is your book. This is your book. And you start, my name is John. I live in Yaoundé. Full stop. We are 7 in our family. My father is a doctor. These are 3 paragraphs. I know some of you feel that no, because you ended this one here and then started, or you ended here and started at the end. In directed writing, it is considered a paragraph. Why? Because you still have extra space to have completed and begin again from the margin, since you already indented over here. This is the space you created to prove that it is a paragraph. So by creating this other space here, this is paragraph 2, and then coming to leave all of this place which you would have filled with information before starting here, you therefore created an automatic paragraph 3. These are mistakes some of you make, and for that reason you are going to have a field mark or a reduction mark at the level of your slanting and even format. Dear learners, we move on to the next question. What is my objective? Your objective now asks the question of the type of what you're engaging in. Are you writing to convince? What are you writing to do? And then the last is your tone. What tone are you using to write? You should therefore take note, because there are some writings when you write, for example, you want to tell people about the importance of staying at home because of the COVID-19. Will you be shouting and threatening people? Ask yourself that question. Will you be laughing with them? Dear learners, you see, COVID-19 is something that it is good for you to take note of. Even though you can play and dodge it, they can see that you are not making the people. You will need to start with a tone that is convincing. Oh, dear learners, when I think about the 10,000 corpses in China, the 12,000 corpses in Italy, the 6,000 in America, and the 100 of corpses in Cameroon, I tell you, coronavirus is not a thing to joke with. It is a thing which we all need to be scared, to put on our mask, and if possible wash all of our bodies, from our hands, our feet, and all of our bodies with detergents and sanitizers, just to be safe. If possible, we should give 10 meters, because we don't know who could be a carrier. From the tone that you use, my dear learner, you make the exam, you make the people listening to you to know the intensity. You cannot come and you're joking. Your tone has a very important role. I'm going to give you this example. Let's look at this example through the instruction here. You are Mr. Hesco, Inspector of Labor and Social Insurance, and your ministry is carrying out a campaign against labor malpractices. One of them is work victimization and harassment. People who are victimized at work. Selecting relevant material from the text below, write an article for the press, bringing out the various ways in which people are victimized at their workplaces. Write in a paragraph of not more than 150 words, paying attention to grammar, spelling, punctuation, and handwriting. This is a very important instruction. And remember that the instruction guides your understanding of the directed writing. If you understand the instruction, you have passed the exam. Why do I say so? First thing, what role are you playing? You are Mr. Hesco, who is an inspector of labor. That is the first thing. Who is your audience? Your audience are the people, the public, who want to listen to what you have written. What is your task or your form? Here you are expected to write what? An article. Take note of that. And what are you writing? What is the task in that article or the objective? In your objective of this article, you are expected to write about what? You have to bring out the various ways in which people are victimized at their workplaces. So therefore, your caption in such an article will be the ways people are victimized in their workplaces. Or you, in a very captivating way, you can say, oh, slavery, victimization and harassment, a trauma at workplaces. This makes us to already see. And they say in a paragraph, that is already what? Your paragraph limitation. In a paragraph of 150 words, not 200 words, my dear children. So you see that what? If just from the instruction, you already know everything that is being said. If, for example, an instruction is, Chris Jason, be quiet. In that instruction, you discover that what? The tone of the speaker already has an influence. My dear learners, we'll now move to the formats or layouts again. Remember that we have what? A letter. What is a letter? A letter, we say, is a piece of writing aimed at communicating. We could write a letter to a loved one, or we could write a letter to a person of high authority. Remember, we are told that what? A letter to a friend, a loved one, or a parent is known as what? An informal letter. In such a letter, you don't have to be very formal. You don't have to want to show respect, or you want to put everything straight up. It's a letter that expects you to feel free. But in a formal letter, my dear students, it is a letter that you are supposed to show the highest level of respect from the way you write, the format, and everything. Let us look at the examples on the board. Here is an example of a formal letter, a letter which we write to an authority. And you should know here that what? The formal letter has 8 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. We start with what? The AA, known as the addresser's address. The addresser's address is also known as the sender's address. This is the person who is sending the letter. The sender's address. So we have the addresser's address and or the sender's address. This is the person sending the letter. And after this, we skip a line and write our date. After the date, you now move on your paper. You get to the left-hand side of your paper and you write what? The receiver's address, the person who is receiving this letter. And after writing the receiver's address, you now move to what? Salutation. The salutation or greeting. It could be sir, it could be your excellency. Because remember, you're writing to a person of high authority. It's a formal letter. It could be a business partner that you want to be serious with. The manager. Title. The title is also known as a caption, is the heading of that letter. And it needs to be precise. Your Excellency. An application for a job as your personal assistant. The job application. You should be precise on what. Don't just write an application. No. What are you applying for? So an application for a job, what type of job? As your personal assistant or as a personal assistant in your office. Why do you always have to be precise? Because if there are 10,000 of you writing and all of you just wrote an application for a job, you are forcing out the person to want to read 10,000 letters to know your precise. But when you are precise, an application for a job as a personal assistant, they will just see this from the title, they know where you fall. Those who apply to be cleaners, they know where to place them. Those who applied to be guards, they know where to place them. So that is how we talk of the caption. The content now is the body of your writing. And after the content, we have all of this, which we call the end closing. The end closing or concluding paragraph. The end closing is not anything. This is not where you joke. This is where you all stop noise. And when you stop noise, you focus to know what your end closing is. Sincerely, just faithfully. Your name, John, this piece, and signature. The signature here is the initial of your name at the level of the GCE. So if your name is John Ngono, therefore at the level of the GCE, instead of writing John Gono as the name given to you, you are going to write JN as the initial of your name. Dear learners, let's now move to the informal letter. The informal letter is different from the formal letter because instead of the 8 parts, the informal letter has 6 parts. The first is the sender's address, which you already know. The second is the date. Take note, the third, unlike in the formal letter where the third is the receiver's address, there is no receiver's address in an informal letter. We only have the salutation. And after the salutation, there is no caption. You can just say, hello, hi, dearest Imai, my sweet Anatole. You move now to the body, which is the fourth. And then the end closing has the fifth, which is fifth and sixth, with your name and your signature. That makes the difference between the formal letter and the informal letter. Dear learners, let's move to the third form of directed writing. We call it a speech. And remember here, in this case, we are talking about what? A formal speech. Why do I call it formal? Because we also have an informal speech. An informal speech is the example of a talk. Somebody comes and he just wants to advise you people. It could be a lecture, like me teaching you now. That is an informal speech. I'm lecturing you. So you discover that what with a formal speech, it has its own intricacies. The formal speech is subdivided into 4 important content positions. The first of it is the title. The title. And what is important in the title? In the title, you have to mention the presenter, 1, the occasion, 2, the date, 3, and if possible, the position or where. For example, a speech presented by the principal of Mike Denny on the Bilingualism Day of 2020 in the Yaoundé Sport Complex. What is the first thing? The presenter. Who is the presenter? The principal of Mike Denny. When? The day, Bilingualism Day. That's the date. Where? At the Yaoundé Sport Complex. What occasion? The Bilingualism Day event. So take note about that. These things are very important. Now, after the title, you now move to salutation, and you salute according to hierarchy, according to the highest person who is placed in that occasion to the least. The Minister of Secondary Education, or the Minister of the Bilingualism Commission, inspectors and directors of the Bilingualism Commission, principals of schools, dear parents, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. That is your salutation. And from there you just move to your content. Today we talk about bilingualism as a very important element of our society, and you continue your information. After speaking so convincingly and making them to see the importance of bilingualism, that you don't just need to say bonjour and feel that you are bilingual, or yes, thank you, or merci beaucoup. You have to speak it and express the 2 languages with confidence. After saying all that as your content, you now go to the end closing, which is what? Long live. Long live the Minister of the Bilingualism Commission. Or start with long live the Bilingualism Day. Long live the Minister of the Bilingualism Commission. Long live Cameroon. Or long live the Ministry of Bilingualism Commission. Long live Cameroon. You now start from the lowest to the highest. But here you start from the highest. Sorry, here you start from the highest. So it goes from here, from up to down. And here it starts from down to up. So that is what we see when it comes to writing a speech. And now we move to writing an article. What is an article? An article is a piece of writing meant for public consumption, and often it sets out to educate the people on a particular information. Talking about an article, dear learners, you should remember that an article does not have an address. An article has just three important elements. One, the caption, which needs to be very captivating, very interesting. People should just look at your title of your article and want to read it. After the article, we have the content, and after the content, we have the author, the writer of the article. The writer of the article can either be after the title below here, or at the end after the content here. So we have the name of author, name of author, NOA, or you have the name of author. Either you put it after the title or you put it after the content. So there are just three things. Three. This one has three. 1, 2, 3. This one has 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my dear students, I'm so happy that you have seen what I was saying. Now the last thing which I want you to know is to be able to identify other important elements besides what I just said. What are these important elements? These important elements are worth noting. I'm just going to take you there without any problem. It has to do with writing relevant materials and irrelevant materials. Relevant materials are the important materials that will help in your writing of whatever you're asked to write. And take note here that the relevant material is not just gathering garbage. No. It has to do with picking just those important points and using them in your writing. Dear learners, as I was telling you, I'm happy from all of your names called Annie, Aqua, Melissa, Ryan Etame, Yohela, and Foyet already mentioned. You all should take this seriously. I'm so grateful for this lesson with you guys. And as your task or homework, you are expected to write or bring out the layout or format for the following directed writing topics. 1. An advice. 2. A report. 3. A debate. And 4. A rejoinder. Those are the 4. 1. An advice or talk. 2. A report. 3. A debate. And 4. A rejoinder. Thank you and hope to see you in the next lesson. You shall equally see samples of directed writing at the level of your Google Classroom material. Thank you, I love you all, and let us stay in the spirit of Mushumbusha. Goodbye.